Today we are going to talk about GoGuardian and walk you through the GoGuardian teacher training. A quick introduction about what GoGuardian is. It's the application installed on your students' Chromebooks that allows teachers to remotely monitor the student's screen on a school-issued device. Um, you can monitor using a Chrome base, you can monitor using your Chromebook, you can monitor using a PC if you have that in your classroom, um, but it is only going to pick up a student's Chromebook, or if they're on a Chrome base, a Chrome base. This application empowers teachers to collaborate and communicate with students, and this here is going to outline the expectations and the uses of this resource. When you are allowed to monitor them, we say that students' Chromebooks are only to be monitored by the assigned teacher or teachers during that student's designated class time. So for instance, if you're at the 7-12 level and the class meets from 8 to 9, that's when you're allowed to monitor them. If we're in a remote learning situation and your class time is 8 to 9 o'clock, then that is when we're doing remote learning when you're allowed to monitor them. Monitoring students not in your class at that time or outside of the time frame of that class is not acceptable. If you as a teacher is not working because you are sick or you took a personal day or professional development day, the absent individual should not be using GoGuardian to monitor students. If you are at home because you have been quarantined and you not choose to not be able to be at school, then you are able to monitor students' devices. This application should not be used on e-learning days. Because we do not stick to a strict schedule on e-learning days and students can work at their leisure, we ask that you not use GoGuardian on e-learning days. If you have absent students or students that, again, need to go somewhere else outside of your direct supervision, we'll show you how to exclude them. You can do that before the session starts or once you start a session. We're going to use Google Classroom to import your rosters, and we'll walk you through those steps here shortly. If there are district employees that are assisting you in your classroom, that teacher has the ability to add a teacher in order to allow them to also monitor your device or their student devices. So again, we'll show you those steps of how to add teachers. If you have changes to your class roster, such as students moving in or moving out, you must update Google Classroom first, and then I'll show you how to synchronize GoGuardian after you make that change. Let's go ahead and get started by going to GoGuardian.com. Once you get to GoGuardian.com, up here in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to click Sign In. Here, you just need to click Log In with Google. And then select the teacher account that you'd like to use. If this is your first time logging in, you may have to scroll down to the bottom of a couple scenes or screens in order to accept some terms and conditions and such. So you'll scroll down to the bottom twice, check a box, click accept, check a box, click accept, and then your classroom will load to this. Now, in your case, if this is your first time using it, you won't have any classrooms active. In order to import a classroom, you'll come over here to this white box and click Import Google Classroom. If you don't have any options here, what you'll need to do is click this blue, click here to reconnect your Google account. It takes you to this page. You'll select your teacher account. You'll click Allow. And now the next time you click on Import Google Classroom, all of your classrooms should be there. So here I'm back to that same screen, import Google Classroom, and then you would be able to use checkboxes and click on all the classrooms that you wanted to import, and then click the blue Import Classroom, and in just a moment it'll drag you to a screen that looks like this, most likely. So in this classroom that I have for today, I just have one student. If you have multiple students, they'll all be listed here. If you are In a situation where later on students have either added or dropped your class, you would have them, again, add themselves in Google Classroom and then come to this screen right here. So click on the Students tab and click the blue Sync Students from Google, and that'll grab the latest roster from Google Classroom. If you want to add a teacher, click on the Teachers tab right here, just below Students. Click on the green Add Teacher, and then just type in the name of the teacher that you need to add as an assistant. So you click their name, you'll select a role. If you accidentally import another teacher's Google Classroom, especially like if you're an assistant, this has happened in the past, not a big deal. Just go here, add them as a teacher, and then make them the owner of that classroom, and then they'll be able to do everything that they need to do as the owner of that Google Classroom. And then you would click the green button to add teacher. In the Settings tab, you have a couple different things here. You can set up your information about your class. You can even make a schedule. If you know you're going to monitor every single day from a certain time to a certain time, even if you never look at GoGuardian during that time period, it's going to record the student Chromebook activity. So this is a way that you can customize your own schedule to where you're monitoring at the same time every day. With the reporting session, GoGuardian will automatically send you some emails. If those become overwhelming and you want to turn them off, you can go to reporting, toggle the switch off, and then you will no longer get those emails. All right, let's get started. So on a typical day, if you go into GoGuardian.com and you sign in, your screen will look something like this. In our case, I just have one Google Classroom. If you have multiple classes, you probably have 3, 4, 5, 6 different ones right here. So there's two ways that you can start a session. And when I say a session, that just means that GoGuardian is recording the websites that they are working on during your whatever period of time you're looking at. So you can change how long you monitor from 30 minutes all the way up to 90 minutes, or you can pick a custom end time. And then you would click Start Class. There's another way you can start a session as well. Click on the classroom name. Over on the right side of the screen, you now have some options. You can go anywhere from 30 minutes up to 2 hours for a session, or again, you can click a custom end time. We're going to talk about scenes later, but if you want to start a scene, which is kind of like a filter, you can set that scene before you start a session by clicking here. If you know that students are absent and you want to exclude them before you start a session, you can click here and you can select the students that you want to remove. In my case, I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and click Start Session. And it is grabbing all of the different Chromebooks that are in my classroom. It's adding all the students. If they are not online, it'll say student offline. But most likely, if they are online, it'll look something like this. Every student has a checkbox beside their name. And also you have the ability to grab many students, any student that's online, just by clicking the box at the very top. At the bottom, you'll notice that you have some options that pop up. You can open a new tab. You can lock the student's device to where they can no longer navigate the internet. You can unlock it if you're done with blocking students' access. Or again, if you have a student that's absent and you don't catch it before the session, you can click exclude right here and the student would disappear from monitoring. You have some different views. If you don't like the screen's view, you can also see timelines. This is in real time what their active tab is. So I'm going to go ahead on my screen and switch from being on Google to ESPN.com. And here in just a minute, as this updates, you'll notice that this tab is going to change color because I'm no longer using Google Classroom. Oh, sorry. So whenever the next update happens, you'll notice that now it's no longer that green color. It is now going to be whatever the color the tab picks for ESPN. This is a really good behavior deterrent. If you don't necessarily want to pay attention to what's going on everybody's computer as you're doing whatever activity it is in class, you could select timelines and drag this tab up onto your projector screen and say, okay, kids, I know that Google Classroom is this color right here. So if anybody's tab changes from that, you're doing what you're not supposed to do. And then you can just sit back and watch the tattletaling take place as kids help self-monitor. So this is a way that you can help make sure people stay on track. And you can see ESPN is now showing up in red. So that is my active tab. I still have other tabs open. This is just what is active at the moment. Switching back to the screens view, I'm going to go ahead and select my student here by just clicking on them. And so now you can see that my student is looking at ESPN.com. He also has a second tab open that is Google. If you want to close out a tab that a student is on, you can just simply come over here. Top and bottom both are available to close, and then click that red close. And ESPN will now close on the fake student tab. And the student gets a message that says your teacher just closed your tab. Something else you can do if the student just doesn't know how to navigate the internet very well and you want to make sure that they get to the right tab, you can type in something like classroom.google.com and select open tab. And now on the student device here in just a moment, you'll see that Google Classroom automatically opens up. And so now it's easier for this person to get where it is that you want them to be. If they take it upon themselves to go somewhere else that you don't want them to go, like I'm going to search for cool math games, and here in just a minute, you'll see cool math games pop up on my screen. I just opened a new tab, and now there it is. If you know that, oh, you're walking around the room and the student sees you coming, and then all of a sudden they switch, they pull a fast one on you, and they look like they're working on what they're supposed to work on, you can go in and again, just click close tabs. And now, even though they think they're getting away with something sneaky, you just went ahead and closed their tab. If you have a student that just is having trouble paying attention, you can click here to lock their device. And then you can just type in eyes up front, for example, or you can just click the blue lock screen. And basically what it gives the student is an error message that says the teacher has disabled browsing. And so then you can get their attention. You can have that conversation about staying off of cool math. And then when you're ready, just click either the blue unlock device or unlock device up here. And now that student is back to working on whatever it is they're supposed to work on. If that student goes right back to cool math and they open it up again, and you're like, I've told this student 4 times that they're not supposed to be on coolmath.com, you can take a screenshot by clicking right here. And again, it tells the student that the teacher just took a screenshot. You've taken a screenshot. You got a message there. The corporation has asked that if you take a screenshot, there needs to be some communication with home explaining that here's what you saw, here's why you decided to take a screenshot. Kind of in that same tone, while we don't expect you to be the internet police and catch every single thing that may be an inappropriate website or anything like that during the school day, during monitoring time, If you do see something that is concerning, make sure you follow the duty to report policies. So if you see something concerning, let somebody know, even if it's a website. So again, we haven't had that happen yet that I know of, but just kind of know if you happen to see something, make sure you report it. So we're going to go ahead and close Cool Math Games again. And now we've got that student back on track. And sometimes, again, we're having a little bit of a weird issue here. Not totally uncommon. Every once in a while, you'll get those weird messages. Again, if you start to see a pattern of weird messages like student not online or waiting for activity, a lot of times just having the student shut down their device and then log back in fixes that. Same thing with if it gives you a monitoring restricted message. If the student's in your classroom using the internet and it says monitoring restricted, most likely they just need to shut down their device, turn it back on, and it should work properly. Sometimes the teacher might need to end the session and then restart the session. But again, usually they're simple solutions. If something happens and you're getting error messages on kids' screens, just reach out to one of your technology coaches and we can help you out and troubleshoot and get it fixed, usually pretty quickly. Another feature that you see here on the screen is chat. The chat option in GoGuardian is student to teacher, not student to student. So if I turn on the chat option, I, as the teacher, can send an announcement to my entire class if they're online, or I can send a message directly to one student. So I can have a one-on-one conversation with a student that's quarantined. If you're monitoring and you see that they're struggling with something, you can say, do you have a question about number 5, for example? And then I click send, and watch in the left-hand corner of the student screen, you'll see they get a little pop-up bubble. Again, we're getting a little bit of a lag, but there it is. And so the student clicks on that. And then I am so confused as a teacher. We never hear that, but there's your student responding, I'm so confused. And now you can have a conversation. Either you can continue to chat through this window, you can set up a Google Meet. But again, this is another avenue of being able to communicate with students in different situations. Once you're done with that, if you want to turn off the chat, just click the off button there, and then you're back to not being able to chat. Go ahead and close out here. And here we can see a couple things. I took a screenshot. So where does it go when you take a screenshot? To this tab right there. And you can see I took a screenshot at 2:07. I can save it to my Google Drive. I can download it. So again, I can have that communication with home saying, I took a screenshot because I told your student not to go to Cool Math Games. They continue to. Can you please have a conversation about what they need to be doing in class or something like that? So those are some of the quick features with GoGuardian. Our scenes, which I talked about earlier, is kind of like a filter. It gives you more power to control what the students can and can't do on their device. When you're first starting off getting used to GoGuardian, I really suggest not playing with scenes too much. But once you've got the hang of monitoring them and you kind of have an idea of what you might want to do, you can filter things out by making a scene. Just kind of scrolling through here, you can filter things by every website will be allowed except for any that you list. So if you're like, I don't want them to go to coolmathgames.com, you could write down coolmathgames.com. Add website. It says, ooh, that's the wrong one. So now I have to go back and double check and see what exactly was he looking up. Cool Math Games. And it's coolmathgames.com. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. I had an extra space. And now students would not be allowed to go to Cool Math Games. You can switch it and go to blocked mode, and you can say, okay, kids can go to nothing except for classroom.google.com, and then you click add site. Maybe you want to let your students listen to music, so you could put spotify.com, add the site. Later on, you can remove these by clicking remove, and they go away. Be careful with using these filters, because if you notice here to the right, sometimes you'll get a website that uses multiple websites, like the G Suite uses classroom.google.com, sheets.google.com, docs.google.com. All these different websites talk to each other. And if you cancel one out, the others may not function properly. So that's why I said, as you're getting started, just work on monitoring them. And then later on, as you get more comfortable, if you want to use allow or block mode, just kind of know it can be a little bit quirky sometimes depending on the website. As you scroll down, you can make a scene where every time you start that scene, it's going to force open a tab. So again, you could force open classroom.google.com, click add tab. And now every time you start this scene, the kids are going to have classroom.google.com pop up. If you want to change that later, again, just click remove. The last one has been a pretty popular one, especially for people just getting started using GoGuardian, and this is the maximum tabs. So as you click on no limit down here, you can see you can set to where they have as many tabs open as they want. They can only have 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9 different tabs that they can have open at one time. So if you set a tab limit of 3, and you scroll up to the top, and you got to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it 3 tabs, and then click Save Scene. I'm going to go back to my classrooms, which this is a good time to talk about how can you get back to seeing everybody's computer. If you just go up to the top where it says 31 minutes remaining, click on the blue name of your classroom, it takes you right back to where all your students are. If you want to set a scene, underneath the red end session, it says no scene applied. You click on that and select 3 tabs. And now we're going to go back to watch our fake student. Right now he has 3 different tabs open, none of which are classroom or Cool Math Games. I'm going to try on my end to open a new tab. I've clicked once, I've clicked twice, 3 times, and it will not let me open another tab. And again, we're getting a little bit of interference, but so it's a really simple way of, you're not necessarily stopping them from going anywhere, you're just kind of controlling some of their activity by only letting them have a certain amount of tabs open. Especially for our younger students, I know this can be a really powerful thing just to keep them focused and not have 10, 20, sometimes 30 different tabs open on their device. In order to change that, all you got to do is go, I'm sorry, not there. On the left side, you can just go to scenes. You see, you now have the option to delete a scene as long as it's not live. So right now I couldn't delete it, but after I end a session, I can delete it. If you click on 3 tabs, you can change it, call it 4 tabs. Go down here, change it from 3 to 4. You can edit all you want, and then just make sure you click update the scene. And now it's going to do that. Let's go ahead and end our session now. So you have finished the time and you are done with whatever it is you're doing for today. You can go to the session and then click the red end session. And then click end session again. And I am no longer monitoring my students. GoGuardian is not recording it anymore. You can look back at what happened during your session by going to timelines. And so you can see and have conversations with students about what they did. If you click on the timeline at any point, it'll show you what tabs they had open. Again, it's not going to show you what they were doing, just what tab was their active tab. If you took any screenshots, they'll be saved here, so you can download or save to Google Drive. And also it tells you anything that you sent out, like opening a tab, closing a tab, locking and unlocking. Those are all here in this little report it gives you at the end. If you go to student reports, you can even single out a student that maybe you've been having issues with. And so you select the classroom, select the student name. You can even select different dates for internet activity over the course of several classes, and then click Generate Report. And it'll show you top 5 websites, top 5 docs, top 5 Google searches, any interventions that happened, like how many times did you have to close a tab? Like I had to close your students tab 7 times because they keep trying to go to Cool Math Games. It tells you the screenshots again, and then all the browsing history that they did during that session. And that's just for this one student. If you want to see a class session from the past, again, click on Classrooms here on the left, and then it'll take you to this screen. Click on the name of the class, and you'll notice it has several different classes, or every time you run a session, it's going to have the ability to click on it and see what happened during that session. You can see your screenshots again. You can see your command log. So that's all by, again, clicking on Classroom and then clicking on the name of your class. I know this